the 2024 track and field season was one of the greatest we've seen in years. The sprinting events were a very large part of that, and of course, it was also an Olympic year. So Netflix, of all companies, decided they would capitalize on it. I'm pretty sure that you're aware they decided to make a television show and follow around the athletes whom they decided were the fastest in the world, and perhaps also the most entertaining. And I shouldn't have to say it, but I'm gonna say it anyway. I'm clearly describing Noah Lyles and Sha'Carri Richardson of America. Don't get me wrong, they did choose to include other athletes, but let's be honest, they were clearly the stars of the show if you actually watched it. They even got incredibly creative with the title for the show. They decided to call it Sprint. I'm not making this up. They basically filmed it throughout the entire 2023 season, but decided to release it in 2024, leading up to the games, because that is when casual track and field fans are actually thinking about the sport at all. I do admit that it took me a very long time to get around to watching the entire show from start to finish, and the reason for that is pretty simple. I work a lot, and track and field is kind of my job, so when I stop working, I normally like to take a break from it. And now that I've seen everything that Netflix actually wanted me to, I have some very strong opinions. So no, this video is not clickbait. I'm going to address a lot of the issues that I saw, but I'm also not here to bash the show, because I actually think it did a very good job of representing the high-stakes world of pro sprinting. But that is my problem with it. They actually told us the truth to the best of their ability about what's going on in pro sprinting, and in so doing, they happen to expose some of the major issues that are plaguing the sport right now. I'm going to first start off with the good, and then move on to discussing the real problem, because there is a reason why track and field is basically barely a thing in the eyes of a casual fan, and this show puts all of that on blast. And if you couldn't figure it out already, there will be some spoilers from this point on. But I don't think of them as real spoilers, because if you follow pro track and field, you should have known what happened in those races, even before Netflix tried to remind us. The show does a pretty good job of inviting us into the world of Noah Lyles. Most of what they give us on camera is portraying the emotional journey on his way to winning the world championship in the 100-meter dash for 2023. They put almost no energy into anything else that happened that entire season. The 200-meter dash, which he won at that world championship, might I add, was basically an afterthought, kind of just tacked on at the end. As far as the 4x1 is concerned, which he did win to complete the sprint triple, they don't even mention it at all. After everything they put on camera, it becomes pretty clear that it's basically Noah against the world. Not just the track and field world. We could argue that some of that was self-inflicted, depending on how you view his comments about the NBA and things like that. But fundamentally speaking, Noah wants to transcend the sport. He doesn't just want to be a track and field athlete. He wants to be way more popular than that, but hopefully take the sport with him. He believes that the more he wins on the track, the more doors that will open for him beyond it. And he's also very aware that he talks a lot. They even interview other athletes because, well, they are kind of a part of the show, especially on the men's side. It's just pretty clear that Noah's the star, and they're kind of like supporting actors. I get the sense that for Noah Lyles, any publicity is good publicity. As long as his name is in the streets, he can make something out of it. Hopefully, something positive. So I would sum up his storyline during the show like this. We're watching Noah Lyles climb the mountain. When I say the mountain, I mean the Mount Rushmore of sprinting. He's actually won almost everything that any sprinter could hope to do. The only thing missing from his resume is what he just missed out on at the Olympics in 2024. Noah Lyles was supposed to complete the sprint triple in the 100, the 200, and the 4x1. He even told us that. He ran well enough if his name was just about anybody else's in the world. But his name is Noah Lyles, and when you write the type of check that he does, well, you gotta cash him in. So it really doesn't matter anymore what races he wins between now and the next Olympics. Los Angeles in 2028 is the only place where he can really make up for whatever's left on his to-do list to accomplish. And when it comes to Sha'Carri Richardson, I also appreciate the way they represent her as a redemption story. But this is not a normal redemption story. We've never seen anything like this. Through the 2023 season, she had not won anything at the world level. Not one medal, because she never competed at that level. There were a lot of reasons for that, which I'm pretty sure you already know about, so I don't need to get into them right now. But what does matter is she's also put out so much talent on display that people fully expect that she is supposed to win gold at the world level. Eventually, she got it done at the World Championships in the 100-meter dash. But that is only the end of a very entertaining story that they try to tell, because the story they gave us on camera is the same one that most of us already speculated about her. We just now have all the evidence to watch that the only thing that could really beat Sha'Carri Richardson was likely going to be herself. Her talent is undeniable. Before the World Championship final, Dennis Mitchell, her coach, asked her one question: who is the fastest? I could have told you that back in 2021, that she was the fastest. The problem that Sha'Carri faces is that simply being the fastest runner doesn't necessarily make you the best. In order to be the best, you have to run fast in the one race that you actually need to run when the entire world is watching. And it's very important that I mention at this moment that in 2024, she didn't win the Olympics, and we all know it was Julian Alfred of St. Lucia who did. She was not profiled during sprint, but she technically made a cameo because she was there in the World Championship final for the 100 and the 200 in 2023. She gets no airplay at all, aside from just being on the screen in the races. That's it. And that is important because the fact that she wasn't the favorite, and of course didn't even win, is the reason why they were able to act like she wasn't even there, at least for the purposes of making a movie. For that matter, even when they were shooting the Noah Lyles side of the film, Lyles was there, basically making cameos. They just wasn't going to say nothing about him. Shericka Jackson did have a legitimate plotline that they followed, and she did win the world in the 200-meter dash. Ironically, what they portrayed that one as is a little bit disappointing, because Shericka isn't just supposed to win. She is supposed to win big. They frame her story around two things. One is to complete the sprint double in the 100 and the 200 at the Worlds. And you already know that Sha'Carri Richardson shut that down. The other was for her to break the world record in the 200-meter dash. She really believed that she was going to pull it off and got dangerously close. She only missed it by 0.06 of a second. The way they zoom in the camera at that point in the story, where you could see the disappointment on her face, a woman who just won the world championship by a lot, that says a whole lot more than I can even get into at this moment. My interpretation of her side of the story is as follows: that Shericka Jackson is held to a gold standard that only Usain Bolt could live up to. I think the Jamaican fans kinda know that she's not gonna pull that off, but at the very least they still want to see her accomplish something that nobody else in the world had ever done. That is an incredibly tall order, which finally leads me to the real problem with all of this. Because remember, my issue with Sprint isn't the story that they tell us. It's the fact that when they tried to tell the story, they tried to tell one that they felt people would actually want to watch. I don't think they got it wrong. I just think we need to really take a hard look at why they told it this way on purpose. And before I go any further, I do want to say that I'm definitely going to put the Olympics from 2024 on the back burner, because for all the three athletes in the show that I just mentioned, the main ones that they followed through the plot, because other people were there, but they get dropped from the roster. I'm getting to that in a moment. For these athletes, the Olympics did not go according to plan. Marie-José Talou-Smith of Côte d'Ivoire did an interview and was asked about her opinions on sprint. She said that she felt disrespected because they clearly didn't pay attention to her, even though she is one of the world's fastest women. The movie makers made a decision to only focus on the athletes whom they felt had a legitimate shot to win a world championship event. Everybody else in those races is basically wallpaper. Yeah, they're in the race, and you might even see them on the camera, but like I said, it's kind of like Julian Alfred or Latili Taboho when they showed up. They're kind of like wallpaper, the extras in a movie that ain't about them. But if you're new here, I want to say thank you for even making it this far into the video. And I'm Coach Rob, the founder of SCArecruiting.com, where I rank the best track and field recruits across the entire nation. And if anything that I say actually connects with you, it is always greatly appreciated if you would please like and subscribe. But if I don't, just let me know in the comment section, because I try to read them all. When it comes to the other athletes whom they profiled, Charnel Hughes of Great Britain, Elaine Thompson-Herah of Jamaica, even Lamont Marcel Jacobs of Italy, the moment that they lose, and it's pretty clear they ain't gonna win in the future, they get dropped from the plot. In the sport of track and field, in the eyes of a casual track fan, notice I said that part, If you're not in first place, then you might as well be in last. And Sprint clearly embraces that energy in their storytelling. At the World Championship event, as they're covering it, they literally skip past the heats and only show us the semifinals, as if the heats never happened. That means, in their eyes, professional track and field doesn't even really start till the semifinal at the Worlds. Elaine Thompson-Herah doesn't even qualify out of Jamaica for 2023, which is why she just gets dropped from the plot after that moment. America's Gabby Thomas does get some airtime, and they do try to play up some degree of a rivalry between her and Shericka Jackson. But of course, once Shericka wins the 200, Gabby's basically done. You ain't gonna see her anymore on the camera. The reason why I'm bringing all of this up is because it reinforces the narrative that the only people who matter are the ones who are all the way in the front of the race. It's really hard to sell a professional sport if the fans don't really know who they're watching. Pro sports is all about competition, and the way that Sprint covers this explains the disconnect between casual fans and track and field. In the current track and field world that we live in, the only thing that matters is competing for individual glory. The athletes aren't really competing against anybody else in the other lanes. Yeah, those people are there, but they're really racing a ghost. The ghost of the record books. Because if you don't break a world record, the only fallback is at the very least did you get a medal while you were there. I cannot be the only one who sees the issue with trying to sell a sport by putting the emphasis on breaking world records. The idea that athletes will go out there and do something that no human being has ever done, consistently, and if they don't, we're not really getting the best quality product. That is not good for your bottom line. If you're a professional sprinter, especially off of what Netflix gave us to go off of in this show, the only meets that actually matter are the national championship meets, because you need to qualify to get on your national team, and then the world championships or the Olympics themselves. That is it. They try to show us what the Diamond League is as the major pro circuit for track and field. But the way they frame it is that those races are basically just a formal warm-up for the World Championships anyway. A formal warm-up that does have a cash incentive for you to show up. The problem that I see with this entire system is that we basically traded the glory of competition for athletes to chase individual greatness. And then we wonder why they can't figure out how to pass a stick to each other in a relay. Because they are not a team when they go out there to run relays. At least not Team USA on the men's side. They're just a collection of individuals who are wearing the same uniforms. Allow me to break this down even further, because most people assume that this will never change in pro track and field. What I'm saying is that it has to change if the sport is ever really going to grow. It is fun enough, I guess, to watch Noah Lyles compete to win a world championship. But there's only but so much mileage you can get out of him running a 100 or a 200 and going through the rounds. The races themselves are incredibly short. At least that's the way it's supposed to be if he's doing it right. And remember, if he is way out in front, as he plans to be, everybody else might as well be wallpaper, because, well, they're not in the front. Professional track and field will always struggle if the plan is to show us a 20-second burst of entertainment punctuated by people standing around. And while we do it, we hope that you break a world record. And thanks to Usain Bolt, I don't see that coming anytime soon on the men's side. That is fine enough at the Olympics, because the Olympic system makes sense. You're competing not just for individual greatness, but for the pride of your nation. Everything else that we do is just a bootleg version of the Olympics right now. The Athlos track and field event in New York City found a way around this, because they basically made a track and field all-star game. They paid the athletes a whole bunch of money to show up and show out. They even invited DJ Nice and invited Megan Thee Stallion. All of that is what made that event a success, aside from a whole bunch of money to pay for it. All-star games tend to work by taking the best athletes outside of a team framework and then putting them on a stage to entertain the fans. The problem with track and field is that we keep seeming to forget the whole team part first. The only way to up the competition factor and give fans something else to pay attention to is the races can no longer only be about individual greatness. Remember, that is entertaining enough, it just had very limited mileage. College track and field basically had the right idea with the way they do conference championships. I'm not saying that it's perfect to take that exact mile and roll it up to the pros, but you need to take some version of it, because in college track and field, if you're watching a conference meet, especially the SEC championship meet. Every time an athlete goes out there, they know they're running to score points. And every single point matters when the team is trying to win a title. The athletes who matter most are the ones who can do the most events, specifically at a high level, because they can score points all over the board. It doesn't really matter how many points you get in an event, as long as it's the points that they needed to get over the hump. Because you might win a conference meet by 1 point. 1 point is the same thing as somebody getting 8th place in one event. Simply put, the athletes on that stage do everything in their power to help their team win. They compete in as many events as they possibly can at a high level. And when they do win, they celebrate that championship the way you would expect any other team to do it. At the pro level, you can play around with this and figure out something that works. However many events we should be doing from meet to meet. How you want to set up the teams, how many athletes are on them. All the other details that I'm not getting into right now. But we do need to figure out a way to get the best athletes to show up and show out consistently. Because when you buy a ticket to watch the Lakers, you know LeBron James is supposed to be on that court, barring injury. And in track and field, considering how the Diamond League final turned out, we don't know who's going to be running in these races. The only time we know what might happen is the World Championships and the Olympics, and that's it. And the problem that the World Championships are always going to have is in the eyes of a casual track fan, it's basically a bootleg version of what we already do at the Olympics, because in their eyes, that one matters a whole lot more. LeBron James is amazing, but winning an NBA title was way more important to his legacy than simply winning an MVP award, because the MVP makes him the best player, but winning an NBA title makes him the best player on the best team, which is actually worth a whole lot more during the GOAT debate. As a fan of the sport, I don't just want to see the best athletes go out there and run fast. I want to see the best athletes show me just how great they are as competitors. Noah Lyles, in a team track and field framework, would not just have to run the 100 and win the 200. He'd also have to run some relays, whether it's a 4x1 or a 4x4, and make sure that points are getting on the board that lead his team to victory. If Noah Lyles could go out in a 400 and get points for his team, which I know he had the talent to do, putting down whatever performance was required to get it done, and then they won a team title, that would be special. And even though Sprint doesn't seem to care about it, he wouldn't even be my first pick on the men's side in a track and field league. I would want Grant Holloway, because not only is he the best 110 hurdler in the world, with the Olympic gold medal to prove it, he also won the NCAA championship indoors in the 60-meter dash, without hurdles. That means he could clearly hold his own in the short sprints if he had to. You could put that man in just about any event, a sprint or a hurdle, and he could probably come back with points to help your team win. He could even jump with the best of them back when he was in college, but hey, I'm sure you get the point by now. All I'm really focusing on is that if you are a fan of the sport, then you want to see real competition. And the only way to get competition is every race has to matter. Not just winning the race, but even getting second, or getting third, or getting fourth still has to matter. Everything I just mentioned is also likely the reason why Sha'Carri Richardson didn't run all the way through the line during the Diamond League final for the 100-meter dash. She did not have a great incentive to do it. If at 60 meters, she knows she's not gonna win, nobody's gonna care whether she gets second, fourth, fifth, or whatever. The narrative is gonna be that she lost. If in that race, she was competing for points for a team title that actually mattered, she would finish through the line, because now it would make a difference. But I do have to give Sha'Carri credit for even showing up for the Diamond League final, because that's more than I can say for some of the best athletes in the world. They don't always show up to the Diamond League Championship final, which is allegedly the best thing we've got in pro track and field right now. The Olympic sports that have the most success operating as professional sports end up having league structures that don't look exactly like the Olympics itself. You simply create a league that maximizes the competition factor while entertaining the fans while you do it. It's the reason why the NBA plays 82 games during the regular season, because they needed to maximize the competition. The players wanted to play fewer games, but they also got told fewer games means less money, so they went back out there and they play 82 games. If the Worlds and the Olympics are really all that matters during the current system, then all the athletes are basically running for themselves. Getting a medal, specifically a gold one, is the only thing that we can really sell to the fans, which is why Sprint chose to focus so much on everybody getting one of those. If you didn't make a World Championship semifinal, you basically didn't exist. And if you did make the semifinal, but didn't make it to the final, you were still a failure. If you made it to the final, well, I guess you now get to make a cameo. And if you get a medal, now I guess we can call you an actor in the credits. But the only person who actually matters was the person who gets the gold. The Sprint itself is not bad. The show is actually pretty good. But the version of Pro Track and Field that they are portraying, as far as I'm concerned, leaves a whole lot to be desired. I know things aren't going to change just because I say so, and that's fine. But if it doesn't, the athletes themselves are going to have to deal with the fact that in the world of Pro Track and Field, at least right now, if you are not in first place, in the eyes of most casual fans, you might as well be in last. And if you don't believe me, just watch how Sprint Season 2 turns out, because if you're not in the front of the race anymore, they will cut you from the film, and that will be exactly how your story ends. The sport of track and field is not just about running fast, it is about doing it over and over and over again, because whenever you step to the line, your reputation is on the line as well. With the Wake Up, Run Fast, and Repeat shirt, you can make it clear that running faster than the competition is a habit. Get yours at scarecruiting.com/shop or use the link in the description below. It's a huge support to me and this channel, so I can continue to make you more content like this. And remember, it is always greatly appreciated if you would please like and subscribe.